Well, good morning everyone. We're just 5 days away from midsummer, so it's a very lush and prolific time of the year. Everything is in full bloom or coming into full bloom, and a huge amount of growth. So there's been a lot of work carried out in the gardens and a lot of work remaining. And the bees are buzzing just about everywhere, and the birds are singing, and everything's become rather dense. You can see the paths have closed up, and that's with me working out here virtually every day at the moment. It's a really important time of the year to be in the garden because there's just so much happening, and things can get overtaken with lushness very quickly. You can see here, look, there's mushrooms, fungi coming up, um, which is great because it shows a certain amount of health in the soil and good bacteria. And you can see part of the structure there of the potted bed is actually an old piece of tree trunk. So that in a way is sort of a hugelkultur bed, because it allows bacteria, good bacteria, to go through into the soil. Although, to be 100% correct, a hugelkultur bed as determined by those who talk about it and um, show how they're made, involves putting dead wood down into a hole and then filling that over with soil, and the bacteria from the rotting wood works through from that perspective. But in fact, there's very little to say that you can't do it this way, and as the mushrooms show all around the ground there, including, look, just in there to the right as well, uh, that there's some very, very healthy bacteria and soil, and you can tell from everything that's growing in the bed there. And not forgetting that the actual depth of the soil is the depth of the tree trunk. So it's quite shallow. So there you go, that's another way to do a hugelkultur bed without digging massive holes. In fact, that's the no-dig method of a hugelkultur bed. And as you know, I practice no-dig here. Now, look at this. Just beginning to do a bit of a cut back. In fact, I'll take you down this path and you'll be able to see. Oh, Jack. That dog gets everywhere. Um, you can see all the jostaberries here now. Look at this. Isn't this wonderful? Just again, massive amounts of soft fruit. Great harvest coming on here. And you can see how the paths are starting to close up. And I've been down here cutting back. Some nice little apples developing there in the tree. I'm very pleased with this actually, because I did a very hard prune on this tree and the other trees in the garden over the winter months. So the fact that I'm actually getting a harvest on them, as I do every year by the way, is incredible. Now I've got something very unusual and beautiful and interesting to show you, and that's this. Can you see these beautiful variegated leaves? This is a black currant. Have you ever seen a black currant with variegated leaves? Or has this just started to develop here at Beltona? Because as you know, the biodiversity here at Beltona grows exponentially, every single day. So the fact that you have anything at all which is unusual is not unusual, if you get my meaning. Um, the arch over there is again just, can you see all the stuff I've been cutting? Okay, I'm going to take you through here. Look at this, look for red currants. I mean, hey, come on, this is just one bush. This is just one bush, It's crazy harvests. Look at this. Look at the harvest happening here, look. Oh, there's a little red one, look. See, they're just beginning to turn red. Okay, so this is one of the archways. Look, it's almost a perfect arch, isn't that lovely? And there's nothing supporting this, or nothing man-made supporting this. This is all just self-supporting with plants. So here we've got the Virginia creeper, got some beautiful roses happening there, look at that. Isn't that lovely? And all the way through, you know. And we've got ribes here, and willow and josterberry and blackcurrant, and it's all happening. I'll take you through here and you can see the other arch, because I took one arch on from another. And just look at those roses, aren't they beautiful? And here's some of the apple trees here. And look at all the overgrown stuff. I need to get in here and work. But some wonderful black currants. Look at that, look. Just masses of beautiful bounty. Just lots of beautiful bounty. Now, let me see. Come back here. Just look up this way. Yeah. Even in its overgrown state, it is rather beautiful. You know, it's kind of where just Mother Nature has gone wild. It's midsummer. Let's celebrate. Now look at this. We're going towards my compost area, okay? And that's obviously from the compost toilets. And these are my little bins, all very neat and lovely, and no smells, no flies. Very approachable. And just up above here on the slope, you can see where I'm coming from, because that's the arch. Beautiful pear tree, and look at the pears developing on that. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at these pears. These pears. Remember, this was the pear tree I showed you on a previous video. It had got very heavy on one side, and what I did, I cut sort of half of the tree away to allow it to sort of bounce back up, and it has done. And look, it's so happy. All this lovely fruit, and look how healthy it is. Lots of lovely new growth. So there you go, look, if you need to, you know, you can. You can actually take the heavy side off the tree, and the tree will thank you for it in fruit. Beautiful big fern growing here. And, oh, I can't remember the name of this shrub. It has, oh yeah, spiry. It has those lovely pink flowers. And got a little cherry tree in here, and I've got a few little cherries coming on it. Sweet little thing, doing beautifully. Lots of nettles around it, which will be chopped and dropped to feed it. Now, another lovely spirea hedge here, look, just to screen off the compost area. Now I'm going to show, these two bins are empty, and this bin is empty. This is the bin that's working at the moment, in that I'm emptying the compost from the compost toilet in there. And these are the other bins. Now, look at that. Can you see all the fungi growing on the top? And the bin has already dropped by about a fifth, maybe a quarter. You know, sorry, not the bin, but the contents thereof. So you can see how it's working. Now look, I've got this lid open. There are no flies buzzing about. There's no smell. And you can see that, you know, Mother Earth is in there doing her work, because that's how it should be. That's the natural way, the natural, hygienic and economically, ecologically sound way to get rid of our human waste. Instead, see, look, that's another bin. Look at that. Can you see all the fungi growing on it? There's little slugs there. Look, there's no flies, no smell. Can see a tiny little ant or something in there. There's actually lots of little insects in there working, as it should be. And these other two bins then, they are almost, well, they're taking a bit longer because they've got a different kind of biomass added to them. They have the cedar biomass added to them, so that they take a little bit longer. And this one here, which is quite an old one, and again it's the same thing, alright? But there's no smell, no flies, perfectly pleasant. And the only one I'm not going to open up is the one that's actually got the most recent stuff in, because there probably will be a few flies in that, because initially in the first month or so there usually is, and then it all starts to break down and it changes, you know, the whole chemical structure of it, so it's not a chemical, but you know what I mean, structure of it changes and it begins to biodegrade. So we walk on up this way. A lot of the wood that I cut during the winter is just in there underneath the trees, all stacked and drying out and providing habitat. I won't need it until probably the middle of winter 2016. Rhubarb and various other foods in there. Raspberries beginning to come to fruition. Beautiful, beautiful compost. Now note I say compost as opposed to compost. So I'm going to let you have a look at this. I'll just pull back the plastic. And there we've got our compost. And what I'll do is I'll hold this camera with one hand and dick about here with a shovel with the other. So I can show you the lovely, 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 lovely stuff. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? And you know the fun thing about this homemade compost, which is actually cold composted, okay? Which is very important, because by cold composting, I'm allowing the seeds to keep their integrity within the compost. When I use that, I'm ending up now with a lot more plants coming up in it. So I have fennel and blackcurrant bushes and poppies and tomatoes and feverfew and chamomile and on, you know, massive amount of biodiversity coming up in that compost. So the compost as it is now kind of represents in a way, you know those seed balls that you buy? Well, that compost heap there is one gigantic seed ball. So, and it hasn't cost me a penny. So this is this year's compost, and you can see, I'm going to walk up a little bit and pull back from it so you can see. That was last year's. I've scraped most of it out, okay? So this is this year's, and you can see how it's all been built up slowly. Now, that heap has sunk by a half at least 3 times, and you can see I've got some lovely plants coming up in it as well. I've got a couple of lovely ferns there which I must take out and pot up, and you know, there's lots of stuff. There was some rhubarb there, I took that out. So we'll go on now. This is just a small part of the gardens, you know. My lovely polytunnel, oh what a delight it is. Just to stand here and inhale beautiful scents. Now, about let's see now, somewhere in the region of 1/4 to 1/3 of my income, because you know that I derive my income from Belton Cottage. I'm not supported by any state body, and I'm not supported by any outside agency or EU grants or the usual stuff that the majority of farmers in Ireland and the UK are kind of subsidised through, okay? So I have none of that. So everything that I live on, that pays my mortgage, that puts the petrol in my car, that helps to put some of the food on the table anyway, and pay for the utilities, well, utility, and pay for this internet and everything else. Everything is derived from Belton Cottage. And about a third to a quarter, or a quarter to a third, as they say, of my income per year comes in seeds. And the tunnel here is used as like a seed guarantor, because if it's a particularly bad summer, you know, and there's lots of rain and it's cold and not enough sun, I can still manage to get a few harvests of seeds here in the tunnel. So what we're looking at the moment, you may think is nettle. It's not. It's actually catnip. So this year I'm going to be adding catnip seeds to my seed bank of seeds for sale. The poppies, of course, they just come up every year. They're wonderful. I've managed to get seeds from both the green euphorbia and the Chinese forget-me-not. Now, I've got flat leaf parsley seed coming up there. I've got one or two of the plants, the kale plants, dedicated to seed production. And I'm hoping to add to that. I mean, I have the usual ones like the feverfew, etc. But I'm hoping to add to my seed collection, maybe even double it. So those of you, and here we've got the calendula beginning to seed for me. So by supporting Belton Cottage, of course, you are ensuring that these videos keep being produced and the blogs keep going out. So it is whatever is for sale on the website and the subscriptions to the Belton Cottage Good Life blog and the seeds and the simple donations all form my income. And all of that money goes through PayPal, so PayPal takes a cut. So if you pay €12 subscription, for example, I get about €11.30 of that. And then all of that money is taxable, because I am registered for tax and I declare my earnings. And of course, everything is coming through PayPal, so it's quite a simple system. I keep books, etc., but all the tax man has to do is simply go into my PayPal account and everything is there, everything's logged. So this year, by the way, I have added blackcurrant seeds to the seed bank of seeds for sale at Belton Cottage. Now, you may think that you're going to have to wait for years to grow a blackcurrant bush. You couldn't be further from the truth. These are some of my beautiful blackcurrants beginning to fruit and come into ripening stage. You can see them. And I'm going to have a look now for a blackcurrant bush that has literally grown from a small seed. Let me see. Okay, right, here we go. Now, we're looking at part of the outdoor fruit and vegetable garden. Okay? Now, you know that about 4 to 5 weeks ago, I cleared this bit back. I haven't got back much further, but I've cleared this bit back in order to plant, as you can see, what I've planted. But let's look closer. Let's look to see what's come up on its own that I haven't planted. Well, wowee me, look at this. Blackcurrant bush. Another little one has just germinated here. Blackcurrant. Look at that little one. Blackcurrant. So it just goes to show how easily the blackcurrant bushes grow from seed. In particular, the Belton cottage seed. Because you may remember that when I started to plant out Belton cottage, I bought 2 blackcurrant bushes, just 2 blackcurrant bushes. All the blackcurrants that you see growing here come from those 2 bushes. Now, most of them were either grown from cuttings or from seed. Now, some of you ordered cuttings last winter and I posted them to you, and the feedback I've got so far has been that the blackcurrant bushes, the cuttings have taken and they're producing and everything's great. So lots and lots of testimony to the health of blackcurrants here at Beltona. Now I'm hoping to save some jostaberry seeds as well, because these here tall bushes are the jostaberries, and they look a little bit like gooseberries, and that's because they are a cross between the gooseberry and the blackcurrant. Wonderful smell of mint here, because look at what's growing in between. Lots of beautiful mint, isn't that gorgeous? Oh, gorgeous. So, now, oh look at this, just behind me. Look at this for a jostaberry. See? Wonderful fruit. It likes to grow a little bit like a tree. You've got to say to it, oh, you are a gorgeous tree, because it likes to think it's a tree, you see. And that way it'll stand proud. Look how it's standing proud of the rest, saying, look, I'm far better than a blackcurrant. I'm far better than a gooseberry. I'm a jostaberry, yeah! And so that's how it grows. It grows tall and proud and absolutely covered with fruit. Look at that. Oh, what a beautiful baby that is, yeah. No, you're not a baby anymore, are you? You're a lovely, lovely tree. Yes, you are. Look at the wind going through it now. It's waving at me. And these are the blackcurrants. Now they're just a little bit more dainty, just as pretty, but not a jostaberry. Right. So now we're coming into what I should call now, rather than Beltona Cottage magical gardens, I should call them Beltona Cottage gone wild gardens. Look at the lovely oak tree. Isn't that gorgeous? And I've cut back lots of the stuff from around it, and it's just really moved into its own this summer. It's in a wonderful happy place. I'm going to have to give it more room as well. Beautiful. It's grown so fast. Now where should we go? Yeah, Jack's saying, come on down here. Down through these wild paths. Yeah. Oh, I'll have to get the strimmer out and the lawnmower out and the cutters out and the... Gosh, And I don't really feel like it, to be honest. I feel like sitting in my hanging chair, swinging about and reading a book. Anyway. Beautiful day. Now there's a healthy looking cabbage. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful heart coming on it. Oh, you lovely girl. Look at you. And there's some lovely lady's mantle and honesty coming up beside it. And the alliums, of course, which are just out of this world. And the kale is doing really well there. And look at this. There's kale, purple broccoli, calendula, aquilegia, foxglove. Oh, for goodness sake, they're all in there together. Oh. If only you'd just stop growing for a wee while. It's a bit like when one has children and you think, oh, if they could just stay 4 years old forever, wouldn't that be lovely? But they grow up and they keep growing and growing. No. But it's all very beautiful. All very lush. My goodness me, there'll be things coming out of there which I'd forgotten. I mean, look at this, look. Astrantia. Possibly a pumpkin, I don't know. Sedum. Jacob's ladder. Allium. Forget the name of that plant. Peach tree. Fennel. Forget the name of that plant. And so on. And it's just... Oh, those peach trees, by the way, I grew from seed. They come up themselves in the compost. But I say, you know, I grew it from seed. Sounds awfully grand, as though I have a greenhouse and long manicured nails where I just delicately pot on the occasional little peach stone. Now, round the front. First year proper that I have fruit on my Japanese quince. Now, this is a combination of, number one, tying it up, well not tying it up, but supporting it up, making it go upwards, and number two, a jolly good application of compost. Because as we know, plants, like children, you feed them well, you feed them properly, they will thrive. Talking of thriving, this is the beautiful upright cotoneaster by the front door, because as you may remember, I planted a cotoneaster each side of the door in a very shallow little bed, and on either side of the cotoneaster I planted a birch tree. Very simple planting. So cotoneaster, birch, cotoneaster, birch. Now, what's happened here is that the cotoneasters have flowered. And the bees and the wasps and the lovely little insects have pollinated and are pollinating the flowers. And so I'm going to have some lovely red berries. Isn't that lovely? This one's a little bit slower because, it's a very simple reason, I think. This one is on the west side of the door, so that is west. So it's going to get the winds first. This one is a little bit more sheltered. Can you see? You can almost see how sheltered it is because of the abundance of flowers and berries it has on it. See? interesting. Just a few feet apart, and you have this lovely little microclimate happening because of the sister tree there. So you have one protecting the other. It's a lovely concept, isn't it? So, looking back now at this Pyracantha. The Pyracantha, which has been planted underneath my kitchen window for years and years, possibly much of the 12 years I've been here now, has struggled. The reason why, snails. Snails absolutely love Pyracantha. And if it's up against a wall, they'll make sure that they'll feast on all the new young buds. So it struggled. And I got fed up taking the slugs off and sending them off into Gabriel's field. And from what I've read, they've come, they all scoot back at night. But anyway, so what I did a couple of years ago, I planted a little clematis in there. Clematis doesn't like to have its roots in the sun. So this is north facing. And the clematis now has grown up through the Pyracantha. So what myself and my daughter did, we drilled some holes in the wall, put some screws in, put some wires onto the screws, and kind of hoisted the Pyracantha, and in this case too, the Virginia creeper, up. And it's now formed a beautiful frame around the window. And as you can see, it's moving over towards the sitting room window. And hopefully it'll follow that wire and go right up over the roof of the porch. So I'm going to move back so you can see a really good view of it. There we go. Looks good, doesn't it? Now, you can see all the beautiful dog daisies, or oxeye daisies as their proper name, and the red valerian, not to be confused with the herbal valerian, which is much, much taller and has white flowers usually. Now, I'd love to take you in through these gardens, but like me, you'll have to be content with just peeking through, because it's not really a complaint. The path has closed up. And I'm loath to get in there with clippers and cut back stuff that's just about ready to flower, because the Senecchia will come out in a beautiful yellow flower. So I'll wait until it's flowered, and then I'll open the path up again. So along here we've got the bistort. Isn't that beautiful? It's a lovely flower. And I've cut back the ribes of the flowering currant because it had taken over the Kanzan flowering cherry. So I've scolded it a little bit and said, now come on girl, you can just grow outwards and not upwards. We'll have no more of that upwards nonsense. So I think it's listening to me, because look, it's going out. So I did open a little bit of the path here, but I don't think I can go much further yet anyway. We have what many regard as a pernicious weed, which is ground elder. We have the ground elder in flower. Now I actually like the ground elder. I think it has the most beautiful flower. It's a measure of midsummer for me. And when I see it flowering, I know that midsummer can only be a few short days away. Or in the case of midsummer, long days away. So, I'm fond of the ground elder. After it flowers, I'm happy to go in there and do the chop and drop. I've done a little bit of the chop and drop here. All this will feed the soil and feed the tree. And there are ways of dealing with the ground elder. Don't spray. No chemicals. Chemicals just wreck the environment. What you can do instead is plant strong plants like the bistort, because the bistort is stopping the ground elder from going any further. The pyracantha and the box is stopping the ground elder. The ribes is stopping the ground elder. Along here, the hypericum is stopping it. The valerian is stopping it. There's two little bits that's broken through, but that's okay. It's not going to really go much further. So you can sort of block it in. And once you've blocked it in and it's stopped being too much of a nuisance, you can begin to enjoy it. Because all plants are there for a reason. I mean, the Romans brought ground elder to the British Isles because they used to eat it. Apparently the ground elder was a good cure for gout. So every plant has its use. Another path that I spent ages opening up and has now closed back in. But my oh my, look at that Gunnera manicata. Isn't that just splendid looking? Gorgeous. Again, the Gunnera cannot spread. You see how tightly growing it is? Because it can't spread out from there. It can't get through the rubus, it can't get through the box, or the lovely little pine tree, or the ribes. It can't get much further. So it has to stay on its best behaviour in a confined space. And it just looks gorgeous. Jack? Jack, come up here. He's a rascal. If he had his way, he'd be sitting down at that gate, morning, noon and night, waiting for cars to go by, because he's one of these car spotting dogs. He just loves cars. You'd probably jump in a car. If some old farmer opened his old car door, you'd just jump in and you'd be off, wouldn't you? Come back up here to me. Rascal. So on the driveway, and I'm not going to go down too far because we're already running into, I don't know, I can't sit and put my glasses on. 38 minutes of this. Gosh, I could talk from my country, couldn't I? So we've got the fuchsia here. Again, this is just grown from a cutting. Trying to remember, did I send fuchsia cuttings out last year? I did. I sent fuchsia cuttings, blackcurrant cuttings, and willow, didn't I? I think in some rubus as well. I know yes, I did send the fuchsia cuttings out because fuchsia is one of those marvellous shrubs here in the west of Ireland that's become very acclimatised to this climate, and you can literally just cut a piece off, throw it on the ground, almost dismiss it entirely, and the next thing it's all sprouting. So I will be advertising fuchsia, Belton Cottage fuchsia, on the site this year. If any of you watching this video have had any of my cuttings or seeds, can you please leave a comment and just tell me how things are doing? Thanks. Beside the fuchsia is, and I love this intermingling of the wild with the planted. We've got honeysuckle, isn't that cool? I'm just going to smell it. Excuse me, just while I inhale deeply. Oh, oh my word, that's just gorgeous. Here in Ireland, the old folk call it woodbine. Isn't that just beautiful? Wild honeysuckle. Wild honeysuckle. And that has just made itself at home in here because it's a lovely little, you see, it's gone in underneath the fuchsia for shelter and protection, and because it just looks rather gorgeous with the fuchsia. So it probably had a mind to do that. Just to go in and, you know, settle amongst the fuchsia. It's like here, it's settling in between the leaves of the forsythia. So it knows a beautiful spot. Beside the forsythia we've got the Jacob's ladder in blue and white. We've got some beautiful honesty. And that's seeded. Look at the lovely seed heads, they're gorgeous. And that's beside a horse chestnut. Do you know, I think we'll just walk down a little bit further. Look at Jack down there rolling. Look. He's down there rolling about. Oh, he must have heard me. He was rolling on his back. Jackie boy! Jackie! Were you rolling about, were you? Were you rolling about? Were you having a little roll about? Huh? I bet that was lovely, rolling on the gravel. Did you like rolling on the gravel, did you? Did you like that? It was a bit of a scratch, really. You're having a bit of a scratch on the gravel, weren't you, darling? Yes, having a little bit of a scratch on the gravel, baby. Yeah. You're my little friend, aren't you, darling? Now. So we'll just walk down, because when I walked down here this morning, I saw a lovely clump of the honeysuckle. And I just saw, oh, this is it. I was so grateful to see it, because I thought, I've never seen it there before. Now, I'll just show you this before. Look, got some nasturtium coming out, and there's the geranium, and this here is the beautiful evening primrose, and look at the lovely fuchsia. They haven't opened up yet. The flowers are still just teasing, but when they open up, of course, they're just gorgeous. Here's some here which are getting towards opening. But look at this. Isn't this just beautiful? I mean, come on. Mother Earth has got the run on any gardener. She knows what is beautiful. And where to put it in that setting. And I think all I've done is I've enabled this to happen. Now if you look into the very sheltered little bit in there, can you see the little fuchsia that has opened? Because it's all sheltered and protected. See? Beautiful. Gosh, it's just such a delight. Jack, come on. I think he just likes to go down there and then to be called to run up. I think he probably thinks it's a little game. Do you think it's a little game, Jack? Do you think it's just a little game? Yeah, a little game. Your head's all warm where you've been stood in the sun. You've got a warm head from standing in the sun, yeah. Are you going to tell everybody what you had last night? I had a French stick in the kitchen, like a big baguette, and I'd made some rolls for visitors, and there was a big chunk left over. And Jack had been very good. He didn't beg anyone. Isn't that right, Jack? You didn't beg. And so I said, oh, come on, you deserve it. So I give him, it was about a third of a baguette. It's massive. He's getting a bit rotund. We might have to bring you along to Weight Watchers, Jack. Yeah. So, now, we've also got, of course, the rubus all coming into flower and fruit. And you see all these little flowers. They haven't opened yet, but they are beautiful little white flowers. They look a bit like large strawberry flowers. And then they are pollinated and turn into these beautifully tasty sort of raspberries. Well, I think it's actually a cross between a raspberry and a black currant. And the stems, of course, are thornless, so that's a little, and they come out on the kind of like the tips of the stems, you know, just the tips. Lady's mantle down there. Nice fuchsia opened up. Look at that. Bit of a wind gotten up now. Not often you see that, as this is very sheltered here. But I think that there could be more rain on its way. That was the butterfly I saw. Do you know, this has been a fantastic year for bees and for hoverflies and wasps and butterflies and moths. Now the moths were missing last year because it was such a wet year, and the butterflies suffered as well. But here at Beltona, managed to keep a fair amount of the wildlife going, because of course it's so sheltered. So, you know, all those little insects could find dry places to forage. Like if you go in around these trees, you know, it's very dry, and because of the way the trees are underplanted with flowers, you can see how much food is there for the little insects despite the weather. So that's something that we all need to be aware of, you know, to plant lots and lots of habitat, and don't get too vexed about things getting overgrown, you know. That's what Midsummer's all about. It's what it's all about. It's about abundance and craziness. And craziness. Look at all the peas. Lovely peas. Lovely peas. Courgettes. Kale. So it's about all these things, you know. There's absolutely no point in trying to control nature. You are fighting a losing battle, and you're only ending up upsetting yourself. Just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Let her have her way. Let her have her way, and just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Now, look, I did say, let's see what day is today, Thursday. I did write a blog the other day declaring myself to be a pagan woman. Well, if the truth be told, I've probably been pagan for much of my life, even though I've been a regular church-going Catholic. I have been that in the past. But I would like to say, not that any of you should ever have misinterpreted what I have said, I would like to say that I do honour everyone's path, okay? Very much so. And in fact, I can see all the beautiful aspects of all the religions. And here you see, I have a statue of Mary and the baby Jesus, because for me, this symbolises Mother Earth. Everything that I see as being beautiful symbolises Mother Earth. In here, look, you'll see a little angel. Look, another beautiful symbol of Mother Earth. And all that we can see or not see. In here we have fairies. You can see or not see. And another little fairy stood in the water. Look at that. And then if we go over here, we have spirals, which represent life. We have a beautiful cross that represents yet another faith. We have an Irish blessing. There's so many symbols, because symbols are very potent. They're very powerful. And symbols remind us of so much. My path is simply that of Mother Earth. That's the path I'm on at the moment, the path I may stay on, and I don't wish to tell anyone what path they should be on. Here we have my beautiful Buddha. He reminds me of lots of things, lots of important beliefs and sayings. And the beautiful hair. I love the symbol of the hair. The Celts believed in the transmigration of the soul, and therein the hair became a very potent symbol of the divine and symbol of the soul. And I don't see it as being weird or wonderful that within a few days of my father passing, that there was a beautiful hare came to the top of my driveway and just sat and looked at me through the kitchen window before he just sprinted off. So I never question any of this. And then over here, so I've come back round the front, another beautiful symbol. I love this one. And this is made from copper, and it is the cross, but it is the Celtic cross because it has a circle intertwined with it, and the circle of course is the sun and life and no beginning and no end. So perhaps my favourite symbol, I don't know, it's a close tie with a few others, is the depiction that Henry Moore did of the mother and child, which to me represents the earth. Because when you look at the roundness of her head and the roundness of what she's holding, it takes on a whole different meaning, doesn't it? So there you go. Now, my word, this is almost an hour. I've blathered on for long enough. I think it's time for a cup of tea, Jack. So, I wish you all a beautiful weekend. And Jack said, come on, are you coming round here or not? Let's go.